I am Coffee Kevin, and today we're going to use the smallest member of the Chemex family, the Chemex Pint. And this coffee maker, for some reason, I think might have been the first Chemex that I got to use. I can't remember any longer where I got it. I must have gotten it from Patrick Grassi. And it is, in many ways, the perfect coffee maker for if you have a friend that drops by and you just each want a cup of coffee. Pint is not that big, so you get a couple of cups of coffee, and almost, but not really 4 cups. If you're going to make 4 cups, you use the larger one. But this is perfect for 2 cups, actually 2 fairly large cups. And then, you just make more if you want to. But I think it's, however, there are some things about it that that I think are a little different than the other Chemexes as far as brewing. My own opinion. And of course, you're entitled to yours. And also feel free to interact with us. If you have a different way of using your Chemex, let me know. I'm always eager to learn. I by no means know everything. I'm going to set the water for 198. I know Peter Schlumbaum, that's another point of Peter Schlumbaum believed 190 was the top end of the water temperature, but I use a little more. I also use, and I always use, the Chemex filter. Apparently, I always open it the wrong way, too, because it looks like I open the bottom, not the top. But these are great, and a key to the Chemex. I have a box somewhere of vintage Chemex filters. I don't think they're great anymore because they're after a while, they've been stored and they almost have a vintage aroma just from where they came from. And I don't know where I found them. I got them from somewhere. I found them. Maybe a garage sale or something. But I think there's a difference over the years in the paper. I would love to ask the owners of Chemex if that's possible. They're pretty fastidious about their specs, however, so I think if I only could do this, 198, we're there. And let's, I'm going to do this. I don't always do it, but I'm going to put a little bit of water in here, just enough. Okay, and then I'm going to try to keep the temperature up there. I just put enough just to get a little the filter wet. I think it's partly mythology, but I think it adds a little bit to do that. And I'm pouring that water out because I really don't want it in there now. Okay. And but I think the filter behaves better. There's a term in engineering, and then I put about I know I spilled a little, but I put about 30 grams of grounds in here, and then let's see if by the way, we're using a Temple Costa Rican coffee, and this is a very high-end coffee. Look at this; they put it in a special little bag. Wow, it's a 12-ounce bag. It's amazing. It looks smaller than usual, but I guess it's not. But it's a very nice coffee, and it's a Bourbon from Costa Rica, and I have had great results with it. But it is the type of delicate flower coffee that you want to use in the Chemex Pint. Chemex is one of the things about it that's fantastic is, and actually And one thing I do is I grind a little bit. Now I'm just pouring in a little bit of, there we go. And you notice that it's foaming up. It's foamed up. And I purposefully don't want, I don't want to pour the water in right away, just like any other Chemex. But I grind a little finer is what I was going to say about the pint. My opinion is, even though it's brilliant in that what they did is it's a thin version of approximately the same height coffee maker as the larger one, I still think the water goes through faster, and I'm convinced that it's because, in effect, the exit hole is this big. And I don't think that's any different. It's, in other words, the cinched waist is the same. So I do think it goes through faster. And contact time is as important as grind size, as important as volume of the grounds. So you really want to grind a little finer because it A, exposes more surface area of the coffee, and B, it slows down the drip rate just slightly, at least. Not much though. See how fast it goes through? And then normally, you know, this is going through a lot slower in a regular Chemex coffee maker. It's a very fast flow through. Even with the thicker paper. I know it's thicker filter paper, but it's not that thick. It doesn't really slow it that much. There we go. And I bring it right about, I don't know if you can get a shot of that, Michael, but right about there. If you can get a close-up of that little bump, actually, let me turn it. Am I going the right way? There we are. That's what we want. We want to bring it right to that point. Oh, it's slowing down now a little bit, but not much. And the idea is to keep the water in contact with the coffee. That is what makes the extraction work. There we go. And then you never let it dry out. Just, there we go, some more hot water. This coffee, one thing about the filter, it does an absolutely splendid job of separating the grounds. You'll never get grounds in your cup with a Chemex. I might have today because I spilled a little of the grounds. Not something I typically do. And let's see, we're getting close, but we're not there yet. And the idea is, you know, a drip is 4 to 6 minutes, so we should be at about 4 minutes to make these two perfect cups of coffee. And hopefully I'll see the people from Chemex this week at the Specialty Coffee Show in Boston, which is starts in a couple of days. I hope to be able to chat with you just briefly on Wednesday, and then I leave. So I am headed there. I'm very excited to see what's new in the world of coffee, and it looks like we are, again, Mike, can you get any closer on that bump? There we go. There's the bump. Now, see, do I need to move the Chemex at all? There's a bump on the side of the Chemex right there. And that's where you're trying to get to. And it coincidentally is just approximately where the tip of the filter is in there too. In fact, if you get another shot of that, I'm going to put a little more in there. Now get a shot of the other side of the close-up of this. Can you get that close-up? There we are. Beautiful. And is that the best we're going to get to see it? There. That bump right there is where you want to stop in order to get 2 perfect cups. You can actually go higher, but if you go higher, some of your coffee grounds are actually still in the hot water. So, if that bothers you, and I know we're the type of audience, I'm saying this collectively, that it might. So, but it's... there we go. And then actually if you look at it, the grounds are pretty darn dry. It does a great job of extraction. And then all one does is removes the grounds, and I will do my housekeeping here. And then we will, I have a wastebasket under here. We will pour our cup of coffee for each of us. And actually, now this is what some people do. Some people put a little hot water in the cup in order to heat it up. Because one thing the Chemex doesn't do, and this is a good and a bad thing, the Chemex does not deliver the hottest cup of coffee. If you like coffee piping hot, and so I know people that do, you really want not to. The Chemex is, you definitely want to warm your cup up. And that's one, and then I'll, all right, and then, but let's pour our cups of coffee and then see what, all right, and then, all right, and that is what you get. Now let's talk about the coffee on here. I'm going to put Michael's coffee out here so he can grab it if he wants to off camera. So here we go. Well, it's delicious. It does have the tastes that we're looking for, which are blackberry, blood orange, and lavender. I'll tell you what really comes through more than the other two to me is the blood orange. It really has that. And maybe it's because it is a that's an unusual note to get that I'm surprised, and I'm very delighted to be able to taste it. And to me, this is as hot as I'd ever want to drink coffee. In fact, I could probably use it just a little cooler. I wouldn't have preheated normally my cup, but again, I did it just to show you can do it. It's one way to, because the coffee's brewed at the end. The Chemex allows it is not an insulated coffee maker, but it's a type of a taste. It's certainly made. It's fine quality, and I know people, the Chemex is their favorite coffee maker. And I think, again, I've mentioned this before, a competitor once wrote a letter to at the time, the reigning coffee development group, I think they were called, that had standards, claimed the Chemex brewed using Dr. Schlumbaum's instructions, brewed at a slightly lower than standard temperature. And the competitor actually wrote a letter to the board sticking up for his competitor. That's pretty enlightened. I don't know if we would get that typically in the world today. It is a delicious cup of coffee, and it is completely free of sediment. It is in that way the polar opposite of a French press, although the brewing temperature curve is rather close. Let's see what the temperature is right now. We didn't do it while we were brewing, but let's see if we can show you here what can you get a shot of that? It's 136, 138, yeah. See, it's almost 140, and that is a good, to me, a perfect drinking temperature, a sipping temperature. You get the sip of it, you still get a nice hot cup of coffee, but it's not scalding on your tongue, and you can taste the complexity. I would say 5, 10 more degrees cooler, and you'll get an even more complex cup. Of course, you know, at each, assuming that it's not so hot that your senses are numbed from it, you will find that you just get different notes and different balances at each of the through the range of temperatures. But I really enjoy that aspect of coffee, that it's a changing taste profile as you sip. And certainly for people who complain that coffee is bitter, I like coffee, I like the way it smells, but I don't like the taste. And I've run into this on more than one occasion. It's often when I grab the Chemex. And I say, really, indulge me. Let's just make a cup of coffee, and I'll understand if you don't finish it, if you politely take a sip and say, yeah, well, you'll switch to tea. Or whatever. But, I find that frequently it's a game changer for people. And they've never had it. And I think the Chemex had a well-earned reputation when it first came out in the 1940s and 50s for being a coffee maker that people who said they either couldn't stand percolated coffee or didn't like a siphon, I guess. The vacuum was very popular as well. There weren't many drip makers. The Chemex was a coffee maker that had many followers that really said it was their preferred way of making coffee. And it was still a time period when people would routinely have coffee with dinner. And I do myself at this time, but I know a lot of people don't. A lot of people say, oh, no, I can't have coffee at night. Well, I don't have a problem with it, but I certainly understand. Anyway, the Chemex Pint is widely available. I'm sure you can find it anywhere online. Some specialty stores carry it, and certainly it's a very popular coffee making method in the U.S. The pint is not particularly, I don't think it's popular in cafes, mostly because people usually want a batch. They want a couple of cups of coffee each, and understandably. But this is the same amount of work to make either amount with either brewer. But I'm a big fan. I use a standard drip grind for this. I did not use usually I coarsen it up a bit for the Chemex, but I did not today. And I'm very happy with the cup of coffee I get. This coffee, by the way, is from Temple. Maybe I'll see them in Boston. I'm not sure. They're actually a Sacramento roaster. They usually they always come to CoffeeCon LA, and I'm a big fan of theirs. Really good roaster. But anyway, sometimes I just want to come on and make a quick cup of coffee. And then keep in mind, one of the things I'll be doing this week, I'll be not only getting some interviews from the various people some of whom I travel around the world and it would otherwise be very difficult to get together with, but I see them at the Specialty Coffee Association event, the conference, and then I'll be talking to people there and seeing if there's how they're doing interest check on whether they're going to support the next Coffee Con, and we're hopefully we'll have one in Chicago, and I'm also looking at LA, but I'm also talking about some crowdfunding, and we may have a vote to see where the next Coffee Con should be, and that could be a game changer as well. Anyway, I am Coffee Kevin. It's good to have a cup of coffee with you, and hopefully I hope to see you once before I head to Boston, if I can still squeeze it in on Wednesday. And anyway, keep enjoying and drinking great coffee, and again, post your comments about your favorite Chemex and your methods, because there's a lot of different ways. Chemex is a coffee maker. It doesn't have a heater in it. It doesn't have it lets you pretty much. It's a completely manual system. But my gosh, isn't it beautiful? Anyway, see you soon.